Sammy Gunslinger. So, um, as you can see from the title, this is it's technically not the first time I was on the wrong end of the gun, because it happened when I was 11 years old, when police drew down on me and my cousin Art when we were 11, because we had a fake BB gun. I don't even know if it was a BB gun, but it was a toy gun. Anyway, um, I was 14 years old, and I would go out to when I would go to my grandpa's house, I had a lot more freedom, right? So I loved going to my grandpa's house because I had two cousins out there that were older than me. And so I was able to do 16-year-old stuff at the age of 14, or 17-year-old stuff at the age of 14. So I love going out there. So anyway, I knew these two girls who they actually looked alike, but they weren't sisters, but they would call themselves sisters. And her name was Lily and Halisha. And so and Lily was older than Halisha. Lily was older than me. Halisha was younger. Anyway, so we had a plan to go meet up with him and just kick it, hang out all day, all night, should I say? Raging hormones. So anyway, I'm 14, my cousin's 16, and my other cousin is 17. And we catch the bus to this area. It's called Northgate, right? Northgate area. And in this area, I got to give you this scene so you know, because it's part of the story. So where we were meeting them up at is this four-way intersection, right? And on one corner is a church, and it's got these steep steps up, and then it's a church. Across from the church was woods. And if you go far enough through those woods, you eventually get to houses. On the other side, on the other two sides of the street, two corners, it wasn't really anything. It was like, a light post, and maybe there was some kind of house or something around, but it was mainly just bushes that kind of wrapped around the corner. So we catch the bus to that corner, okay? We get to that corner. It's like 10:30 or 11 at night. And we were standing at the top of the steps of the church. That's where we told him we was going to meet him at. So we were standing up there, and we were there for a while. And it was like, did they get confused? Did they not know what, corner we're on? Maybe they thought we were supposed to be on the next. Who knows? See, this was before cell phones. You couldn't call, and it didn't work like that. You had to be precise with where you're going to meet up and time and all that. Different world. Anyway, so time's going by. I want to say maybe like 30 minutes went by, and it was like, okay, something's off. So I came off the steps and I walked across the street. I got bad eyes, right? I have to wear glasses in order to drive, really. Specifically at night. I can drive in a day, but even at night specifically, I got bad eyes, period. I'm nearsighted, not farsighted. But it helps me with shooting guns, believe it or not. Anyway, that's another story. So I come off the steps and I walk across the street, and I'm standing on the corner, and I'm looking down the street to try to get a closer look to see if maybe they were down the block, right? So I was standing on the corner. I was basically doing this, and my two cousins are still up at the church, Marcus and Tony. And as I'm looking down the road, this car pulls up, and just, out of nowhere. Like, I'm looking down, and then I hear a car, and I look, and it just rolls up, and it stops right next to me. And this guy's got this bandana around like this, and a bandana around his head, and he has a 12 gauge. So I brought the 12 gauge out to save for this story. This is my Mossberg. It's got the carbon fiber stock on there, and I polished that barrel, give it a nicer look, at least to me. And it's just a great gun. The stock, it's light. It's a light stock, so it makes the gun much more lighter. you know. But great gun, love it to death. Use it as home protection a lot. It's not, at the moment I'm not using it. I switch guns a lot. So anyway, he's got a bandana around, and all of a sudden I look over, and the car pulls up, and the shotgun is at my forehead, like that. That's what it felt like. You know, it was looking down, and then hear a car and look, and bam, it's right there at my forehead. I'm 14, and whenever I think about the story, I mean, even from the very moment that I start telling the story, when I was 14, like, you know, when the police came, like, I remember seeing this like I was outside of my body, right? I felt like I was out of my body and over here. Like that's what it felt like. That's how I seen what happened. It's weird, but when that happened, it was immediate. Like I felt like my soul left my body, and I remember going, "Oh shit!" I remember saying that, and I remember the dude said, "Come up out your shit." That's what he just flat out. That's what he's come up out your shit. And I said, "Oh shit!" And I had my hands in the air, and as I was looking at the situation, like I said, I felt like I was looking at it from the side. But as it happened, there's something that came to my mind. There's a song, I'm not going to go into it, but there's a song that mentions, is the hand quicker than the eye? And so, and that song had just came out like 6 months prior. And so it was something that I thought about, you know, being 13, 14 years old. I was like, the hand quicker than the eye, which one's quicker? And I didn't understand that the question basically is action versus reaction. At first I didn't. And then eventually I understood that, okay, action's faster than reaction. So as soon as that shotgun came to my forehead and I did that, like that's the first thing that came to my mind was hand quicker than the eye. And I'm like, he can't react fast enough. And what I'm thinking about is knocking the shotgun barrel up in the air. So if he does pull the trigger, it's going to fire up, and then I'm going to take off. I was extremely fast kid, so speed I wasn't worried about. So that's what I did. I'm like, oh shit, my hands right here, shotgun's at forehead, and it wasn't touching my forehead, but it was, you know, like not even, maybe 6 inches away from my forehead, if that. You know, it might have been like 3 inches. It was like right there. And so I went, oh shit. And I don't know how long I stood like that, but it wasn't long. No way it was more than 7 seconds. You know, it was probably 3 seconds. I don't remember. It was too surreal for me to know the timing. You know, it was just, it was slow motion, in fact, too. And it was like almost an outer body experience. So anyway, what I did is I took my forearm and I hit the gun up. Now, listen, I am not advising you guys to do this, okay, this at all. Like, I'm just telling you what I did, you know, what happened. So anyhow, hands up, gun in the head, and boom, I hit it up. And as soon as I hit it up with my forearm, I ran in a way, like basically behind the car. So I know he can't twist and turn all the way around to shoot me. So I ran away from the passenger window, basically, right? So I ran, you know, kind of behind it to where the driver, if he had a gun, he could have shot me, you know, but he would still would have had to reach behind a little bit. So as I run like that, the car starts to try to make a U-turn, but it ends up having to stop, back up some more, and then go forward. Well, believe it or not, by the time they did that, what I'm about to tell you was already done that quick. So I ran behind the car and then cut back because I was going against the passenger window. So wherever the car, I was going against it with you know, away from the passenger window, so he couldn't shoot me. And so there was a point in time where when the car was turned a certain way, I was able to shoot straight to my cousins, straight to where the church was at, cleared the steps one hop. It's crazy athletic. But anyway, I jumped up there and I'm like, he's got a gun. And my oldest cousin, I'm not going to get into all that, but he was a hothead. Okay. He was in a gang and all that. Like, so he was a hothead. Um, and, but my other cousin who I was really close with, which is the younger brother of those two, they're brothers, Marcus and Tony. So Marcus is the oldest. Tony is the younger brother. And so I jumped up there and I said, he's got a gun. And Tony looked at Marcus and said, come on. He was like, I'm not going anywhere. And Tony was like, he is not like, Tony said, F it then. You know, he said, F you then. And I took off, he ran with me, and we ran into the woods. So all that happened, like running up, jumping up there, he's got a gun, I'm not leaving, F you then, boom, take off, run across the street into the woods. All happened before that car was able to turn, back up, and then go forward again. That's how fast it happened. So we go through the woods and my cousin pulls me down as we're running through the woods. He pulled me down and went down, and he wanted to turn around and look to see what was happening with his brother, because the car turned and the gun was then pointed at my older cousin. And I can tell you what was said between them later, but once he seen that the car, it looked like they were like talking or something. The gun was pointing at him. My cousin was just kind of like standoffish, but not moving. And then the car backed away as if it was about to come towards us again. So then we get up to run, but as soon as we stand up, we realize there's a board going across the trees, and they have nails through them. Every, like, I don't know, maybe a foot to every 2 feet, right? Like maybe every 2 feet there was a nail. And it happened to be a nail was right in front of my face. It's crazy. Like, so when we stood up and turned around, we both were, you know, kind of backed up like, whoa, we didn't see that. Coincidentally, he pulled me down right before we were going to run into this wooden, you know, these sticks going across the trees with nails in them. Bananas, just crazy coincidence. So anyway, we duck underneath it, boom, and then there's a house there. I'd say maybe 50 yards through woods, and then there's a house. So I run to the house, and we go up on the porch, and we're banging on the door, and we're like, let us in, somebody's trying to kill us, And a guy comes to the window and looks, and he sees, listen, just being real, he looks out the window and he sees 2 teenage black kids. He's scared. He's not opening the door. he's not opening the door. Like, what if they're just lying? They're just trying to come rob me. Who knows what was going through his mind, but I can understand it, is what I'm saying. Like, if people just ran up on, like, it's hard to tell. All right. It really is. I'm not mad at this guy. If I was 8, it'd be a different story, right? I'd be like, bro, 8, you let him in. They're banging somebody trying to kill him. Let him in. But I'm 14. He's 16. And, you know, who knows? So he doesn't let us in. He grabs his phone and he calls the police. While he's doing that, we're stuck. Like, there's nowhere to go now. Like, and the car then pulls up right in front of us. And I remember saying, I don't want to die. I remember yelling that. I was going, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. And I'm banging on the door. Let us in. Let us in. And a dude's just standing there on this phone, looking out the window. And I honestly thought we were going to die right there. I thought he was just going to start shooting at us, unload. We were going to die on that porch. In order to leave the porch, we would have had to run towards them and then backwards. And it didn't feel right. It was just kind of like our last hope was that this guy would open this door and we run in. And it never happened. But while we're doing that, I don't know if they could see the dude through the window. I don't know. But we made enough ruckus that they did not shoot us. They didn't pursue us any longer. They just drove off. And so they were kind of persistent if you think about it. Like, I knocked the gun up, take off. They try to make a U-turn, have to back up again, and then they go forward. By that time, we're in the woods that fast. They then turn left in this intersection. They turn left and stop, point the gun out at my older cousin. They have words. Then the car backs up and goes down the road, 50 to 70 yards to the house that we were at. Not only that, but then they went up and had to turn around again so that the passenger was pointing in our direction. It's pretty persistent. You know, like they could have just drove off after my cousin, but they didn't. They came back after us. And I believe what it was a gang initiation. Like he had to shoot somebody to be in this gang. But thank God they just drove off. I remember the police came and everything. What kind of car was it? This, that, and the other. And they just like took some information from us, and that was it. We talked to the guy who was on the house, and he was like, what the heck was going on? You know, so he heard what happened, and he was like, look, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't know what the hell. It looked crazy, you know. So after all that, we walked to a payphone. Payphones just be everywhere back then. We walked to a payphone and called him again, and you know, we found out that it was a miscommunication. Boom, we ended up going to their house and hanging out. But I wasn't really, like, I couldn't even enjoy myself like that. Like, I was, like, messed up. You know, my heart was flying. I was like, they're like, we were telling them what happened. They were like, oh, that's crazy. Anyway, want a soda? Like, they didn't, you know, they didn't care. Like it was crazy to us. And I was like, that was a tragic moment, man. You know, like, even for them it was, but even more so for me. You know, the dude put that gun to my head. So anyhow, that was the first time I believe somebody was trying to kill me with a gun, you know, being on the wrong side of the gun, besides that police thing. So survived that. Thank goodness. Again, you guys, I am not telling you to do what I did. Seriously, I don't even know if I do that again. You know, I don't know what I do, but I did learn how my mind works in those situations. And so I learned, you know, and I found out that it works pretty much the same way when I get into a physical fight. There's levels to that, but it's pretty much the same. And I learned about myself, you know, and it helped me out the next time I had to deal with something crazy. And, you know, it was just basically the birth of how I react to crazy things that have happened to me, and how I survive the things I have. You can be taught stuff all day long, but you got to know if and how you're going to react. Like, you don't know. You might freeze solid, you know. For a second, I did freeze. I don't know how long. Maybe it was 1 second. Maybe it was 6 seconds. I don't know. But for a second, I did freeze, you know. But I was able to kind of snap out of it. And I was thinking insanely fast. That is one thing that I took from that in a major way. I couldn't believe how fast I was thinking. You know, that was interesting. So anyway, that's that. Yes, I have more. It's sad, but I do. I have more. So they're coming.